Hello and welcome to an honest walkthrough and review of String Swells, which is a brand new library by Sonixinema. Now this library is exactly what it says on the tin. This is a string swell library designed for slow and beautiful movement, not fast-paced playing. And you'll see what I mean when we get into the library. Now I could tell you a load of interesting facts about who and how this was created, but you're here for the samples. What I will say is all the b-roll, all the footage that you see that is not me playing or this setup here is actual footage of them creating this library. So that's a really cool, I guess, bonus in this video. So what are you actually getting with this library and what is the price? Well, it's £219. So you're going to want to listen carefully and really think, is this what you want to buy? Now, I will be mentioning other products as well in this video. I'm not sponsored in any way. I am an affiliate of Sonixinema. That link is in the description. But as I always say, these reviews are honest and I will be upfront with you about my opinion with this product. Also, you can get 20% off. It's the introduction sale until the 20th of September. So if you're watching after that, maybe wait for a sale unless you really do love this library. So what are we getting with this library? Well, you're getting 5 core articulations: Normale, Senza Vibrato, Sul Pont, Sul Tasto, Tremolo. If you really want to know the breakdown of what each of those actually are, pause this video and voila, you can see here exactly what all those mean. But moving actually a bit further into it, we're getting singles, we're getting pairs, you're getting some designed patches, some multis, which are really cool. We're also getting 5 mic positions. You're getting close, stereo, mid, far, and this pre-mixed one, which is muted actually when you go into it. But it's a really nice one that they've created themselves, so if you don't want to mess around with the mic positions too much. But even then, you do have this proximity meter fader, so that will kind of mix the microphones for you as well. So that's a really nice bonus or added feature to this library. Now, the manual does break down everything quite simply and easily. It's actually a really nice, concise manual. So if you're intrigued in how this actually works or still confused after this video, which hopefully you're not, dive into the manual. Really handy, really useful. But we are going to move into Kontakt Player. This is available with the free version of Kontakt, so you don't need to pay for that added on as well. So as you can see, we've already actually loaded one of the patches from the singles, the Normale one. You'll notice as well we have all our articulations here at the top, and to turn them on or off you have this little knob or button there, so you can actually have multiple on at once. The one advantage to actually loading the individual patches is up here. You'll see it says clean currently, though there's a gator or a huge space. There's a huge space snapshot there, so you can change and go between those for the different articulations if you really want to. Other things, you can see the key switch, you can see panning, you can see the actual volume of the individual articulation. Mashing my words together, I'm trying to get through this concisely. Right, other things you can see, plain and simple. I do love the UI, very simple and straightforward, is this bar. This is the length of the sample when we hit it. So for example, I hit it on half a bar, it's half a bar long. I hit it on 1 bar, and you can hear the bowing there, which is really nice as well. 2 bars. Now this will sync to your DAW as well, you don't have to worry about that not happening. 3 bars and 4 bars. What I will add initially is that if you go over to the envelope, so we've got effects, EQ and envelope, I do recommend turning the release up just a little bit more, because as it is, if you take your hand off too soon, it can cut out a little bit in my opinion. But if you want it to kind of just go to the end, which is kind of how this is designed, I do recommend adding just a little bit of release so you can kind of lead the next chord into it. You'll see what I mean right now. So as you could see and hear, just turning that release up a little bit allowed me to take my hand off, the sample is still playing, and get the next chord played and ready, so you have that nice movement that sounds natural, and just adding that little bit of release really helps with that. You also have sustained decay and attack. Now let's move over to the left side over here. Blur and gloss, that's simply high pass, low pass filters. Stereo field, you can make this mono. Dynamic, it's simply, well, if we play at the bottom, it's a more tamed sound that is CC to your mod wheel. So you can hear there, it just tames it a little bit. Not as much effect as I would like to have on it, but you do have expression as well right here, which is, I'm going to put that onto my expression wheel, which is essentially a posh volume knob. You've already got a volume one up here, so if you want to control it just a little bit more, you can do it there. Proximity, this is to do with microphones. So if we go into our mix here, it's the same knob for both. Maybe I want it about midway. It's mixing everything for you there. You can see the global, the proximity stays the same. Or you can just mix them yourself there. You can solo and mute bits and bobs. You all have an auto purge as well, which helps reduce the usage of RAM. And then right at the end over here we have the mix, which is, as I said, already muted, but this is the mix that they pre-made for you. So I've soloed it, so this is the only one that's going to be playing. I am just going to doubly hammer down and just turn everything off. I might hear, I don't know if it's just me, there might be a little bit of phasing. That could just be my ears, but I'll let you judge that with your ears itself. Highly recommend headphones as always with all my videos, but that is the mix that they made themselves. I guess if you're low on RAM, that is a nice thing to have, because you can get rid of all the other mixes or all the other micro positions and just have the gorgeous mix that they have. Effects, there is a little bit of reverb on. If you really do want to hear all the raw mic positions, we might as well brush through those. So this is the close. Let me get rid of that and mute it. And I'm going to move that down to 1 bar so we can flash through these a little quicker. And we'll turn up our mid and our far and our ambient. So a nice choice of mic positions. You do hear a little bit of difference between them. I kind of want a little bit more. I'm almost comparing it to this library here, the solo strings library. Those 3 mic positions are very unique and different. You can tell a huge difference. The close is in your face. The mid is, well, the decatry is very mid, while the far is very ambient. These ones, there is differences between them. You can slightly hear it. But I do like the added bit of reverb. It just makes it a bit more glossy, in my opinion. Right, let's go on to Senza Vib. And you're probably saying, wait, you haven't shown us the difference between the snapshots. Well, I'll do it with this one. The snapshots being these bit up here, but they're consistent throughout all the different articulations in the sense that it's clean, huge space, and gator. And we will dive into the mapping and gator later. I did not do that on purpose. Right, Senza Vib. So this is basically just the Normale without the vibrato. And actually, I'm going to put this up to 4 bars to show off that one. And I am going to, actually, I'm not going to add the release yet. So you can see what I mean when I haven't added that release. Love the bowing. Love the bowing there. As I said, it just, to me, it cuts out a little bit on that release. I like adding a tad, a little bit more there. And another thing I like doing as well is breaking the chord up. When you just hit it like this, you do have that very concise and tight change in bowing, but breaking it up a bit gives it, to me at least, a little bit more of a realistic sound, and that imperfections of some string players bowing at different times. So something like this. See, to me that's a little bit more flowy and just a little bit more, as I said, realistic. So just breaking the chord up. It's like a wave washing on the shore. Gorgeous sound though, absolutely love it. And I believe because it's just the close mix there, I actually want to bring in a little bit of mid. Just gorgeous and full and rich. That's Senza Vib. So that's the clean as well. Let's look at a different snapshot. Huge space. It is what it says on the tin again. It basically gives it a cathedral reverb. I don't know if a little bit of EQ there as well. Kind of gives you the bog standard envelope and the mix as well. You have to redo your mix slightly. The other thing is the gator, which will automatically, I believe, move us over to the gator here, and it just gives you kind of that, I don't know, sci-fi almost fake synthetic sort of sound using the real samples. I like hitting random and just if you want a more electric sort of sound, it's a nice little added feature. I don't know how much I would use that myself personally. The one thing, I'm going to say it now, I kind of wish this library had, and I'm almost comparing this to the Kepler Orchestra, which is right here by Spitfire Audio, with the idea of when I hit a chord or just hit a note, it does after 2 bars or how many bars I select, and actually turn the gate off as well, which would be handy. Home. It stops. It'd be nice to have a button just here or so that says loop on or loop off, so that it just keeps playing the same thing over and over. It just has that loop. And then what you could do as well is have multiple articulations selected with maybe different bar lengths, 1 bar, 1 2 bar, and so you kind of have that ebb and flow, and it has that Kepler Orchestra sort of effect. I understand that with that library though, they recorded the multiple ones, while with this one they've recorded the phrase, the swell, and so that repetitiveness could sound quite fake and unrealistic. So I guess that would be a reason against it. Anyway, Sul Pont, let's move on to that one and actually find where this library is. And we're going to move it to bar 3 bars, because that's kind of my favorite for some reason. Add a little bit of release. We'll mess with the blur and gloss a little bit here, and proximity mix wise, yeah, I'm quite happy with that, although I want a little bit of close personally as well. Beautiful and rich sound there. High pass, low filter if you really want. The stereoization over here, really, you can make it mono if that's something you really want, but you can open up the stereo field as well. and just spread it out that little bit more. You can actually see the key switches as well. I haven't mentioned this down here in the red for turning or switching articulations, and then the green actually turns the gate on and off as well. So that is Sul Pont. We are now going to move on to Sul Tasto. And as always, I'm going to add that little bit of release. And let's just do 1 bar now. Let's not just do 3 bars for everything. Mix-wise, I'm just going to solo their mix, actually. So we have something a little bit different there as well. And just so you can actually see what I'm doing with the dynamic fader. So a gorgeous sound, and what's nice is you have that full range as well. Everything down from the bottom all the way up to the top is just this gorgeous rich sound that's full, and there's not a part that I would say really lacks. If anything, I really do like the extremes, the low and the top. Beautifully recorded and well engineered. Finally, we're going to look at the tremolo patch before we move into some of the more experimental and, I guess, different stuff with this library. This one I feel works really nicely added onto other ones. It just creates this beautiful texture, especially with the 4 bars. And if we try and get a nice big chord going here. It's just got this gorgeous stereo filled, and in all honesty, it's probably my favorite engineered sound of this library, if that makes sense, just because of the way everything is all over the stereo field, and it's just got this beautiful and gorgeous texture and build and sound. You don't have the bowing with this one, obviously, because it's a tremolo, but it just has this really nice gorgeous flowing sound. And if we actually turn on, we'll go with Normale now, and we'll start messing with this mapping editor. Nice that they highlight in orange so I can see what I'm doing, and I just want the tremolo. Ooh, I don't know, do I want the low or high? And let's go with low, and we'll do that, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to fade slightly between them. I love how intuitive this is. And you can go up and down octaves as well. We have a slight crossover, and yeah, let's play that. Actually, we need a bit more Normale in there. You see what I mean with texture and just mixing it in with some tremolo, some Normale, and just it has this beautiful intimacy, but just fullness and richness of sound. We can always add in some Sul Pont as well, and I'm going to add an octave on top of what we're playing. And that's another added feature of this library that I really like, just the ability to map it and move it about. I use Spitfire a lot, but this is something I really wish they kind of had, this ability and ease to map certain sounds with the ensemble patches. Now, that's the singles. Pairs, they've got their own pairs that they've created. Of course, we created whatever we wanted here, so you could dive into that. And, well, let's just load one. I say it's nothing special. It's just pairs, I guess they recommend, but I believe it's just a combination of all these 5 articulations. Mix-wise, I'm going to go with something like that. Envelope, I'm always going to add a little bit of release, and we'll go back to my favorite 3 bars. So as I said, nothing quite different to what we were just doing before, except it's their pre-made pairs. Again, I would mess with the mapping a little because it just adds a little bit of realism. Some string players playing one section with some string players playing the other, especially with the tremolo. I feel that mixes really well in just to add a bit more texture and depth. Now, designed, let's just play with a couple of these. A lot of these will feature the gate that they have. That's a little bit too much high pass for me personally. And they do have their own design bars. What have they done with the mapping? Nothing. Gate is not on this one. Juxtapose. But see what I mean with the tremolo? It just adds so much. What's XXX? That scratchy whatever soundy is not me. That is this patch. Okay, what else do they have? Hideaway. This is with the gate. Oh, you can see the ones that are specifically with the gate. They're putting brackets. That's nice of them. Pump and dump. What is that? I like the names. They just make you want to just click on it. It's like a sweet shop. Like, ooh, I wonder what that tastes like. Well, there you have it. It's just bits to mess with. I personally will probably be sticking with the singles or pairs or making my own pairs and messing with the mapping a little. But the feature I've left to the end, it's probably one of my favorite things, is these multis. Now these are definitely worth checking out, especially this first one. It has such a full, rich, emotive sound, and actually I don't have to touch it in any way, which is really nice. I don't have to add any release. It's just this big epic sound with a big reverb, and it tails really nicely into the next sound. But you see what I mean with that tremolo and the way they use it here. I don't know what they've specifically gone. This is the tremolo. How have they mapped it? So it's just everything. And what have they done with this one? And this is the advantage of using Kontakt over your own dedicated plugin, and why I like the fact that Sonixinema are still using Kontakt. So many companies are veering away. There's just this ability to stack things, and you just have this very intuitive and industry standard sampler that is great. And honestly, such an amazing sampler. Well, it is the industry standard. I'm rambling. So one more sample, and then we will conclude this video. And I think we'll leave it there for the sounds. But I actually really like the fact that this one has the gate. It's got other sounds coming under that as well. And it's just this complex cacophony of sound. But overall, this library is a really cool collection of swell sounds. I like the fact that you have 5 mic positions. I like the fact that you've got the 4 different articulations, especially that tremolo. It really adds when you mix that in with other things. I really wish you could loop these sounds a little bit, but I understand if they've not recorded that way, that could sound quite unrealistic. And I really like how user-friendly it is. You've got this bar, half bar to 4 bars, plenty to mess with there. You've got the mix, and what you could even do actually is, if I have that on 1 bar, I could just drop in another one, another single, and put it at 3 bars. And so you can kind of work with it and get creative with this. But what do you think? Do you think it's worth the $219 price tag? Will you be getting this? Let me know if there's any more you want to see of this library specifically. I'll try and incorporate it into some of my composition videos as well. It's definitely a library I'm going to be using. I don't normally use Swells, but I've hoped you've enjoyed this walkthrough and review. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.